Guys, here we are, MMA UK News, Stoomboy as always, MMA UK BJJ show. So, before we go any further, just a quick word about our sponsors. So, Simplify Debt. Simplify Debt are a company that helps people throughout the UK get out of debt, regardless of situation. We'll put their number and their website across the bottom of the screen. So, anybody looking for kind of friendly or confidential advice, then certainly give them a call. Just quote either the MMA UK BJJ show or the Scottish MMA Awards. Now, we're going to be talking about Grapplefest 15. So, Grapplefest 15 is going to be this Saturday. So, it's going to be tomorrow, 1st of April. It's going to be at the usual place, Fusion Nightclub, Fleet Street in Liverpool. Now, ticket availability, anybody looking for tickets, make sure you head over to the Grapplefest Facebook page and you will get all the information through there. The pay-per-view has changed, so it's no longer on Fight TV now. They have put the link up on the Grapplefest Facebook page, and I know a lot of the grapplers have reshared it as well for their people. So make sure you do head through that link rather than Fight TV, because if you go on Fight TV, you're going to be very, very disappointed. So now, it's going to be another amazing night. I mean, Grapplefest always put on a show whenever they're in Liverpool. It's an amazing show, and again, amazing cards that they put on. This one is no different. Now, my next guest then is going to be on the show that night. So, returning Brodie Baby Giraffe Greco. So he's going to be returning. We saw Brodie head over at, I believe it was Grapplefest 12, and came over, travelled over himself all the way from Australia, and put on a show. And yeah, a crowd absolutely loved it. Chris Thompson, the Grapplefest team, absolutely loved him. So it was a given that he was going to be back on the show at some point. So he's going to be up against a tough Adam Bennett. But these are the matches that Brodie loves to be in. So all the way from Australia, via everywhere in the world, because he's been travelling. So, but Brodie, listen, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to me, as always.
Thanks for having me. And while you're mentioning Grapplefest 12, what an event that was. It's still one of my favorite events to date. Obviously, coming away with the win, very dominant performance by myself and finishing it in under, I think it was under like 3 minutes. But Ash Williams and Keith Corian, I was actually just talking to Keith the other day, and I was just saying it's still one of my favorite matches today. Those two styles going together.
Yeah. It was good as well, because I know that because I remember talking to you before it, and you were talking about travelling over, and you were going to be yourself on your own, and it was a long journey. As in Australia, it's not just along the road. It's we're talking about the other side of the world, so it was a long travel for you. So and again, this one pretty much the same, as in a long travel to get to here again.
Yeah, I mean, it's what, 20, I think this time, I think this time it was a 32-hour total flight, 24 hours of flying with an 8-hour layover in Singapore. But this time I came over a little bit earlier. I came over a week before Grapplefest. I've been here since Sunday. I really, really wanted to train with Ross Nichols out of London Grapple. I know last time I was trying to get out there, but just didn't happen. So yeah, they welcomed me this week at London Grapple, and it's been some amazing training. Like Wednesday, I got to do a 15-minute round with Ross, which was absolutely incredible to be able to do. But everybody else there was just tough level competitors. It seems to be the London mecca for jiu-jitsu. Everybody seems to be going to London Grapple, and they just have a really good vibes. No sort of politics. Everybody's welcome. Let's just do some rounds, basically.
Yeah. That's the way it should be. I mean, that's the way it should be in jiu-jitsu. I know in a lot of places it's not like that. But just people enjoying jiu-jitsu, go in there and have fun. As I said, there's no egos. There's no egos in gyms. Just come in, do your thing. And yeah, and London Grapple is one of these places where people come from all over not just the UK, but across the world, and train at London Grapple. And you've got lots of different nationalities all training there already. You've got Stefano Sana, obviously Italian. You've got a lot of different nationalities. So yeah, it's really, really great.
Yeah, it was like I said, Ross, Aiden, they were welcoming. There was just a plethora of athletes, but also it was also really safe training. That was one of the things I expressed my concern for, being so close to the competition, being like less than a week out. Um, I was expressing to Aiden, I'm like, hey, like I need some safe training, but I also want like hard training, and he was able to sort of guide me into which rounds to take.
Yeah,
But for the majority, like literally the majority of it was all safe training. There was just a few guys that to avoid, not because they're unsafe, just because it's so close out, whether it's the weight discrepancy or whatnot.
yeah,
But yeah, I look forward to heading back on Monday and getting those extra hard trainings in.
yes, yeah. Nah, you're right. You are right. I mean, especially coming up, especially an event as big as like Grapplefest. I mean, you don't want to be going in there, and especially the week before. I mean, usually this week is all about the training, kind of toning down a little bit. So yeah, you don't want to be going mad and coming up against like 120 kilo crazy guy like Mark McQueen. So we were talking about Mark McQueen before, but yeah, I mean, as I said, Mark's a safe round. He is a safe round, but a very, very big weight difference. So that's not something that you want to be taking risk with the week of
No,
Grapplefest.
definitely, and that's something that I've really changed this sort of training camp. Is I've really adapted to being having my training partners being more around the 77 to 80 kilo weight range. Like a lot of my training partners were Levi Jones Leary and Lachlan Giles as my primary training partners. Before it was a guy called two guys, Ollie Lavat, who's a brown belt, no, now black belt out of Absolute MMA, and then also Dan Schwart out of Precision MMA,
Yeah,
and he's also a silver medalist at ADCC trials. And those are big guys, like they're both like 90 to 100 kilos. But I was always safe training, but this time, especially with Giles not competing as much now and focusing more on coaching, I was able to tailor my rounds with him and Levi. Obviously, Levi has just made the move to Australia, or back,
yeah.
I should say, for the next 6 to 9 months in preparation for his events. It's been really good to have those size appropriate rounds now.
Yeah, yeah. One thing about you as well, I mean, I'd say I know when we spoke last time, before Grapplefest 12, one of the things you were going to be doing, you were going to be traveling over to the US and so on, and getting some training over there. Obviously, managed to head over. Tell us a little bit about your experience then being over in America.
America was incredible. I think I literally headed over like a couple of weeks. Actually, it was from Grapplefest that I left to go to the
Yeah,
US. Um, and I managed home base was Austin, Texas, out of B Team. Managed to get about 11 weeks of training there. That was incredible training to be able to train with guys such as Craig, Nikki, Damien on a daily basis. Um, it was just a plethora of knowledge, but also the ability to network with promoters and whatnot, being in that gym environment. Um, Obviously, Nikki Ryan just had knee surgery.
yeah,
When I arrived, I was lucky enough that I was able to be one of his like training partners for the first couple of weeks when he came out of surgery. I was able to train with him 2, 3 times a week at a very high intensity, but it was very safe
yeah,
intensity as well. And I learned a lot from that. He's the type of guy that lets you work, but will never let you win, if that makes sense.
yeah, 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 definitely.
Um, Yes, I was there for 11 weeks. Obviously, through that, I was able to compete on a private Who's Number One event. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if many people know about that. Um, I'm not sure if it got uploaded to Flow, but I faced Matt Copra out of Brazilian Fight Factory.
yeah,
He's one of the main training partners of William Tackett and Andrew Tackett. Unfortunately, I came away with a loss, but it was a very highly competitive match where I was winning the match, but just got caught at the end. And that's the way of jiu-jitsu. You can be winning and then lose.
yes, definitely. But you did. I mean, you competed
From
when you were competing over there because we've seen a lot. Because you post a lot of stuff. I mean, as you're very, very active on social
yeah,
media and so on. So every time you were doing something, whether it be a competition or even training or traveling about different places, you and even watching. I think you were watching shows and you were having like
yeah.
kind of like almost like parties. You were having like I wouldn't say party, but it was obviously a few guys were all there watching different shows and so on. So you definitely looked like you were enjoying yourself.
Yeah, it was good. It was good just to be able to focus on jiu-jitsu. There was a few events. Like I competed locally on like a Naga, which was a good experience. Didn't win my weight division. I actually lost to Davey Asaris, who's on this event this weekend.
Yeah,
He managed to catch me in a triangle and managed to get me a shoulder lock me from there. But I came away with second in the open weight absolute, where I managed to beat two or three brown belts and then lost to a guy named Jamie Canuto, who's a multiple-time world champion, who just basically ragdolled me, basically. That's the thing in those absolute divisions. You don't know whether you're going to get really good black belts or you're just going to get hobbyists in there. I was also supposed to be on Midwest finishes. Um, Unfortunately, I had to withdraw due to health issues the week of. Um,
yeah,
but that's not all that bad because my opponent actually pulled out the day of. He had some misfortune and had a car accident the day before. He's okay, but it seemed like that match just wasn't meant to happen.
yeah, yeah. Maybe in the future. Maybe in the future, it might happen again.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking forward. I've kept a good relationship with those guys, and they've welcomed me back. So hopefully we can reschedule that for when I'm back in the US in a couple
Yeah,
of weeks.
yeah,
But it
yeah,
was a really good networking trip, especially being in the US. Obviously, being on Who's Number One has access to flow contacts, but also Midwest being out there, and then this week, a couple of weeks later, after I arrive in the US, I'm going to be in Emerald City Invitational at
yeah,
the end of April. So there's always something happening in the US, and I'm just trying to be a part of it. Just a guy trying
definitely.
to do jiu-jitsu before I get too old or broken.
Yeah. Let me ask one question. Obviously, everybody follows Craig Jones. Craig Jones, without a doubt, is probably one of the funniest guys that on social media. See how some of the stuff he does. Is he like that in person?
Yeah, yeah, he really is. If you get to know him, he's a bastard. He really is. He'll really take the piss out of you if you're like in the sort of circle or whatnot. I remember
Yeah,
I was drilling with Kaya Rudolph, who's also on the Grapplefest card this weekend.
yeah.
I think we're doing wrestle ups, and the first day I was there, and Craig walked past, and he's like, "Oh, you need to threaten the wrestle up." And then he was like, "Yeah, Kaya's not scared of you wrestling. Like Australians don't know how to wrestle." I'm like, "Look, you're not wrong, but come on."
As we love watching us in the videos he posts, and every time he's on social media, just like this is going to be hilarious. So he definitely seems like one of the funniest guys out there at the moment. So we love watching his videos. Keep them coming, Craig. We do absolutely love them. So
Yeah, he's also
um,
a bastard to roll with. It's not even like technically jiu-jitsu. He just does whatever he wants, and it's just not fair.
yeah,
He'll just
yeah.
crush you. He'll smash you. He'll just make you hate life and regret doing jiu-jitsu.
But that's the thing. I mean, even like that. I mean, that you learn a lot from that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, you're maybe getting your ass kicked for a period of time, but you're also learning things from them. Do you know what I mean? So, which is brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's why a lot of people as well travel all over the world to go over and obviously get the training because obviously the B team is has some phenomenal talent coming out of there. So,
For sure.
um,
I, Yeah, I think Austin is definitely the mecca of jiu-jitsu right now. Before it used to be like San Diego and California, but
California,
now
yeah,
I mean, it's still top tier. I just think a lot of people are moving to Austin. You've got Brazilian Fight Factory, you've got Six Blade, you've got B Team, you've got New Wave. So there's lots going around
yeah,
there.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
just obviously being in such a small space, of course, Austin isn't that huge, unlike California. they're all very. You can get to all gyms pretty easily.
Yeah. So listen, guys, anybody looking to do some traveling, definitely head over to Austin. As I said, you will get some great training out there. So, and Craig Jones will kick your ass, but he'll do it with a smile. He will do it with a smile. So,
I remember one. I remember one day it was one of my training partners was a brown belt. He's one of Craig's like main guys that he rolls with, called Sterling Millman. And we're always doing positional rounds to start before we do sparring. And we'd always start in the mount round. And me and Sterling always partnering together because we're the same size and weight. And I could never escape his mount. And I'd go to Damien, I'd go to Nicky Ryan, and I'm like, hey, like, can you help me? Like, I need some technical stuff. And for whatever reason, I just couldn't get it to work. So
yeah,
it was definitely all sound and technical advice. I just couldn't get it to work. So I remember turning around to Craig and being like, Craig, do you have some bullshit that I can try and make it work? And of course, he's always got something. So sometimes you just need that non-jiu-jitsu technical advice.
yeah. Listen, we absolutely love it. Definitely, it's brilliant to see. Not just obviously, not just Craig, but a lot of the guys post stuff. So it seems like they definitely have fun over there. So anybody has definitely hit up B
For
Team.
sure.
You will get some great training over at B Team. So tell us about Saturday, tomorrow night then. So obviously Grapplefest 15, going to be on the card again. As I said, had an amazing
Yeah.
debut. And so it was going to be inevitable that you were going to be back on, obviously dependent on schedule and so on. So, so how did you find out you were going to be on 15?
Yeah, so pretty much straight away after the card ended, I was saying goodbye to Chris afterwards, and I'm like, hey man, like let's do it again. 13, let's get me on. Um, just schedules just didn't work for 13 or 14.
Yeah,
And then 15 came around, and I really pushed with Chris to make it happen. I think I was just getting back to Australia. I got back to Australia in October, and it was supposed to be for Feb 18th. We were supposed to have a Australia versus like UK sort of card. They
yeah,
did like a Australia sort of contender series for blue belts to get a spot and be flown over, which was really cool to do. And I remember flights going on sale. That was super cheap. I think it was like 1,800 Australian dollars to come over. I messaged Chris. I'm like, hey man, flights are on sale. Like, I want to book them today. Can you guarantee me a spot on the card? And he's
yeah,
like, yeah, you booked those tickets. You're on the card. And it was the exact same as last time. As soon as I booked the tickets, he put me on the card. Unfortunately, Chris had some health issues with his back, needed surgery. Um, I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I remember him needing another surgery. So Feb 18th wasn't feasible anymore. And then obviously got pushed back to April, where unfortunately the Australians that had already booked tickets had either non-refundable or it was super expensive to change tickets. Um, I had a pretty flexible ticket, and it cost me maybe $200 to change my ticket. So it was like it was no stress. I knew that came with a risk booking my tickets for an international match before
yeah,
everything
yeah,
getting announced. So, but yeah, obviously coming out with a good performance. I've pretty much been on a roll since the last Grapplefest. I think last time I spoke to you, I was just prepping for a local match in Adelaide before flying over.
yeah,
So I've won like 4 or 5 matches in a row since being there, with the exception of the Who's Number One loss. So I'm looking forward to Saturday. I'm hoping that Adam can put me in some deep waters. Um, nobody, like, without sounding egotistical, nobody has really ever put me professionally into deep waters. So the only loss that I've had professionally has come from just getting caught and making one mistake.
yeah,
The rest have been pretty quick submissions or a very dominant performance by myself. So I'm looking forward to competing on these events that Chris is holding, because I'm now jumping up in skill level and facing tougher and tougher opponents, and um, eventually I'm going to come up to that match. It's going to be a real hard match to have.
yeah. And you're coming after the belt as well. I mean, the Australians love those Grapplefest belts. So it's got to be something, as I said. That's the thing with Chris. I mean, he's obviously, you come on, do the first match, and then you're only really a couple of wins from being in a shout for that title. So for the Grapplefest title.
For sure. I mean, I will never say no to a title shot. I just come off a pretty big win locally M16 Open against Bobby Sander, who's one of B Team's rising stars. I managed to
Yeah,
finish that pretty quickly. So I believe, don't quote me, but I'm in the number one shot will be competing for the number one shot for the 77 kilo for M16 Open in
yeah,
Adelaide, Australia. So guys, keep an eye out for M16. They're doing amazing things for athletes. In Australia, they're probably going to be one of the top events. I mean, they're already top tier, but over the next couple of years, we're going to see the production obviously get better and better with every show they do. And then obviously internationally, Chris has got Grapplefest, so hopefully a couple of wins away, and I can be in line for that title shot.
definitely, definitely. And what about
Do
you then?
you do
So
you know?
obviously, sorry,
Sorry,
on you go.
do you know who has the under 80 kilo belt? I'm not too sure now. Like
I don't
Dante, right?
know. I know that. No, 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 no. I think it'll be Owen O'Flanagan, because
Fuck.
did Owen not beat Dante at 14?
That's
No, in fact,
right.
no, it won't be Owen. Sorry, but I'm sure Dante lost his last match. Um, so I'm just going to double check and see because
Reg- Regardless, it's gonna be a tough match, but hopefully I can win on tomorrow night. I mean, I'm very confident that I will win, and then we can move
yeah,
on to the main card and work my way up to the title shot.
yes, yes, definitely. As I said, let me see. PJ Bark.
Oh shit.
Potentially has the title.
Yep. That
I,
sounds about right.
if yeah, because I think they now again, don't quote me. I don't know if it was for a title, but I know that Dante. I think that was the last time Dante was on. That was Grapplefest 12.
Yeah,
Um,
it would have been with PJ Barks.
yeah, and I'm sure it was for a title.
Yep.
But again, don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that. But either way, whoever's got the belt, Brodie's coming to get it. So
So I mean, every event and every training camp I'm doing, my jiu-jitsu is evolving. Whether you see it on the events or not, I know a lot of my matches that I had recently have all ended with leg lock finishes, but I am working very hard away from leg locks and the leg game to focus on other areas of jiu-jitsu. It just it just happened that the match always ends up there, and I'm obviously more experienced there, so I'm able to win the match. But I'm hoping
yeah,
that yeah, I'm hoping to showcase some different jiu-jitsu on the weekend. If it goes to leg locks, I'm very confident I'm going to finish, but I'm also very confident everywhere else.
yeah,
I have Levi kicking my ass in training every single day with his bolos, his back takes. I've
yeah,
got Giles just doing whatever he wants. So I've had a wide array of experiences recently in the training room that I'm not exactly too phased where it goes in the match. I'm very confident that I'll be able to work my way out of submissions and also
yeah.
work the offensive wherever it goes.
Definitely, definitely. What's next then? So obviously, I mean, you spoke a few things there. You talked about M16. You talked about obviously going over to America and stuff like that. I mean, what kind of things would you like to do? I know that we talked about things like trials and all that, ADCC and stuff before. I mean, what's your goals for this year? What would you like to see yourself doing?
This year, well, I was actually, it's funny you mentioned this. I was talking to Ross Nichols the other day, and I was just joking around, and my Singapore trip is booked for ADCC trials. And I was just joking around with him, just being like, I'm going to win trials at 77 kilos, the first trials. And then 2 weeks later, I'm going to go win Purple Belt Worlds, submit everybody on the way. And I mean, that's no joke of a division, the 77 kilo trials. You've got Joseph
Yeah,
Chen, you've got Kenta Iwamoto, you've got other guys that could be moving up, like Jeremy Skinner, depending on what his weight does.
yeah,
There's definitely a plethora of top tier athletes at the 77 kilo division, and I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm going to be in the best training room this trip around. I'm going to be training at Enzo Gracie, Austin, where John Danaher teaches, with
Yeah,
hopefully being getting an invite to the main training at Roca / New Wave. That's sort of the goal.
yeah,
So I guess, yeah, 80/60 trials and worlds is the ultimate goal. And I'll take any match leading up to that. Give me a belt, give me a title shot. Let's go. Um,
definitely.
but yeah,
It's good.
it's
Good goals. I mean, that as you said, that under 77 kilo ADCC division is stacked all over the world. Wherever you go, you're never going to get, because I'm sure this happens, or this used to happen in jiu-jitsu, where people would go and do IBJJF comps in certain places because it was easier to win a gold medal in certain places than it was in other places. Whereas that
yeah.
doesn't happen in ADCC. So there's no going to, let's say, somewhere and thinking, well, I'll win an easy gold medal, because there is no easy gold medals in ADCC.
Yeah, I mean, like a few years ago, Giles was talking about how the Oceania trial was probably the easiest to win, but now with the rising talent coming down under, and sort of not even that, they're switching to no gi.
Yeah,
Um, you're gonna like it's just risen the level, and I'm actually in the process of trying to get my EU passport. But again, like that's not an easy division. Like it doesn't matter where I go, whether it's Europe or Australia.
yeah,
It's either 77 kilos or 88 kilos, and both of them are the most stacked divisions in ADCC. So I'm in for a
yeah,
rough time. So I'll stick at 77 kilos for now. I'm sitting about 80 kilos. So I definitely don't want to go up to 88 because guys are cutting from like 100 down
yeah,
to 88, and that's a big jump.
yeah. No, definitely, definitely. Final thing then, Brody. I mean, you've been in the game for obviously a while. Traveled all over the world. You've trained in a lot of great places. You've had and still do have some amazing training partners. But anybody in particular you want to shout out to? Any friends, family members, teammates, sponsors, anything that you may have?
Yeah, so Levi Jones Leary has really put in a lot of effort. Obviously, since moving to Australia, he's the guy that like I would go to every single training session that I had, and I'd always have questions for him, and he would take his time to make sure I understand the jiu-jitsu that he's teaching, but also he's not like in a rush to leave the gym or like dismissive of anything. He puts his time and effort. And his partner Alanis, I'm not sure of her last name, but Alanis is a brown belt out of Unity as well. So between those two, they really helped elevate my jiu-jitsu game for my passing, having that unique style that Murillo has, and being able to showcase through Levi and Alanis.
Yeah,
Lachlan Giles has always been there for me. He's always been in my corner for all my matches in Australia. He's the guy that has elevated my jiu-jitsu, 4 years ago when I moved there to training full time. So those are the two guys, especially lately in the last 6 months, that have really helped me out. And definitely there was a definitely plateau in jiu-jitsu where I wasn't feeling that I was really improving.
hmm
I was training, but I was never really feeling like I was improving. But like since being back in Australia, it's definitely jumped leaps and bounds. And obviously that's shown in tournaments recently as well, being able to finish my matches really quickly, which is always the goal. But I'm definitely the guy to put on a show because I'm going to be hunting for that submission.
yeah,
Um, my biggest sponsor is Fightback CBD. Those guys out in Texas, Austin, they've been helping me for like the last 3 or 4 years. Um, both with CBD oil, they send me money when I'm in the US to compete. So they're definitely my biggest sponsors.
yeah. Some awesome people. We're looking forward to hopefully getting Lachlan over again in the UK at some point. As I said, I know when he was over, did a few seminars. He was up here in Scotland and so on. So he, when
He's
Lachlan
coming,
came
I
over,
believe.
yeah, but he is coming, so we're looking forward to coming back over. But he was one of the reasons why everybody in Scotland is leg locking everybody else in Scotland. So,
Nice.
because he came over, he did a seminar, and one of the guys that kind of jumped on the board with the leg locks was Jack Brown. So
I've heard the
Jack Brown,
name.
who's a Yeah, he's a black belt here in Scotland. He's again travelled. I think he was over in Thailand or that neck of the woods, not training for the last 6, 7 months, teaching classes and so on. And I might have been Singapore. It was that side of the world.
Yeah,
And when he started learning leg locks, it was through Lachlan Giles. And when Lachlan came over, they obviously spent some time together. And Jack Brown's now one of the most devastating fucking leg lockers coming out of Scotland.
beautiful.
I mean, I think he holds the record on Grapplefest for the quickest submission. I think it was something like 20 something seconds. It was like, and it was a leg. It was a, I think it was a heel hook.
I've got 19 seconds tomorrow night to finish the match.
So, but yeah,
That's a challenge. I like it.
yeah, but it was very very quick, and that was all. When he came off, one of the people he thanked was Lachlan because he kind of learnt from Lachlan, and he's done a lot of things. He's adapted heel hooks. He's coming into different type of entries and so on. So it'll be good when
Beautiful.
Lachlan comes back over. Obviously doing some seminars. I'm sure there'll be a lot of people looking forward to see him coming back over. So
Yeah,
um,
his seminars are always packed. Every time I see
yeah,
him, even in Australia or internationally, he's always getting 100, like 80 to 100 people, no doubt. But
yeah,
also with the rise of like Grapplefest and Polaris, you guys are getting like a plethora of talent flying in.
yeah,
Polaris is always having amazing shows. Grapplefest is always having amazing shows. So there's definitely a lot of talent coming into um, the Europe in the whole.
yeah,
I know a teammate of mine is like, "Why do you do some stuff? Like, why are you trying to tee up like a seminar in the UK?" And I'm like, what am I gonna have to teach when guys like Owen, Santiago, and Keith, like all these guys are flying in? Like, I can't offer something more than what they offer. Like,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Listen,
I'm sure they'll be.
one day we'll have Brodie Greco seminars, definitely, definitely. So you'll be booked all across the UK. Do you know what I mean? And one of the
I mean, that's the
places,
goal.
yeah, listen, one of the places I'd say come to Scotland. I'd say we love having people come over. I think we've not had this. Well, we've got a few seminars lined up. Dean Lister is a big name
Oh,
that's coming over.
beautiful.
Yeah, so he's over
Dean,
in.
now that you mention that, Dean was the very first seminar I went to as a white belt, maybe
Yeah,
7 or 8 years ago, and that's where like the foot fetish started. I was like, holy shit, like this works and it's
yeah,
easy.
yeah,
Um, and now I understand that like why I was winning because leg locks are so powerful. Now that I'm learning how to pass, obviously my passing isn't as strong as my leg locks. I'm like, oh, leg locks are so easy when you're trying to pass. Like this makes so much sense. Because I was always like, why is this working? Like, surely like there's something that like white blue purple belts can do to like negate all this. But now that I'm starting to learn how to pass at such a high level, I'm like, oh, there's like quite you're quite vulnerable when you're trying to pass.
yeah,
And that's where Levi's style passing has really elevated my passing ability and taking the back because his style negates a lot of leg locks.
yeah.
So it's been nice in that aspect to be able to not get leg lock while passing now in training rounds.
So that's what I know. A lot of people are very excited about Dean Lister. I know he was going to come over. I think it was just as COVID hit. I think he was due to come over in the April, and then April or May, and then COVID hit in the March. So obviously that was cancelled. And then here we are. Obviously we're now well out of COVID now. So yeah, next month, April, some date in April, he's going to be here in Scotland. So. And as you say, he's one of the original badasses.
Yeah,
So he's one of the OGs for sure. So it's going to be exciting to see him. I know there's a few other ones as well lined up. But we get some great people coming over to Scotland. But as I say, one of the best ones was Lachlan. That was the one people still talk about. People still do moves that they were shown in that seminar to this day, and I think that was maybe 5 years ago. He was
that
over
sounds
in
about right.
Scotland. Yeah, so but they still talk about it. They still talk about it. So it'll be
His
exciting to
way,
see if he comes.
it's. I think we spoke about this last time
Yeah,
about like their teaching styles with Jeremy and Lachlan. Just the way he can convey knowledge, it's very transferable, and it's something that people attending will take away a lot of. And it's something I've spoken in depth with Giles about recently, because I started doing seminars in Australia since returning from Austin. Structuring the seminars and being able to transfer knowledge from the instructor to the student. I've been to some seminars where you walk away and you're like, oh, that really wasn't worth it, or what did you teach? Like, there's definitely a fine balance between being able to transfer the knowledge, but also with not too many details that they just don't know anything because they're so flustered with technique. So finding that balance between the key points, the concepts that he's teaching, Lachlan has really nailed that. And I've really taken a lot away from him and his teaching style to be able to teach when I do my seminars and private lessons. A lot of people come away and say, wow, that's like similar to how Giles teaches. Obviously not on the same level, but they go, oh, we can tell that you're from Lachlan Giles because we've been to his seminar and you've got the same style. So I'm very proud to be able to have that in my seminars and teachings.
Yeah, he does. He did. He took a lot of time at that seminar. I think it was a good 3 hour seminar, if I remember rightly.
Oh.
So obviously most seminars I think are a couple of hours. Usually it's like an hour and then an hour's Q&A after it. So, but I'm sure if I remember rightly, I'm positive it was a 3 hour seminar. And as I said, there was a lot of detail. Not just detail, because it's like, you know yourself, you could show someone a heel hook, right, and say, like, okay, that's a heel hook. But the way Lachlan broke it down, it was like every single part of the process to get to the heel before you even get the heel hook on, all the build up to it as well. So, and it's some of like when I do like the kids class, and I always teach it in like 4 or 5 different points. So I'm like, point 1 is this, point 2 is the next step, point 3, and I'm like, see if you're rolling or you're doing positional sparring, count it in your head as you're doing it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and all the kids do it. And see, when I look at the kids, and you can see the ones that are counting because they'll say it 1, 2, 3. So, and that's exactly the way Lachlan did it. He broke it down perfectly. So, which is why people loved it.
Yeah, I definitely think you have to find, like, being able to keep them engaged. I know one of the very first seminars I did, I booked a 3 hour seminar, and we got about 2 hours into it, and I had like a long list of things I wanted to cover, but in my mind it wasn't that long because I wanted to just smash this out like in training, like it's very simplified for me. Being able to teach it, we got about 2 hours in, and I'm just like, oh god, this is like a lot, and I haven't even covered like half of the techniques I wanted to cover. But it's about, I'm still working out how to keep engagement past that 2 hours. So now I do a 60 to 90 minute seminar. It's more towards like the 90 to 95 minute seminar. But I sort of gauge it until they sort of start losing interest, if that makes sense. Like, it's not that they're losing interest. It's just like it's hard to mentally stay focused after the 90-minute, 2 hour mark. So I sort of gauge. I'll be teaching different scenarios. Like a lot of the seminars I'll be teaching, they're in front headlock seminars, and we've got about 5 or 6 different attacks that I would call it like a system. Some seminars I only make like 3 into it. Some make 4, but it sort of just depends on the engagement that I'm getting. But I've always had good feedback, so I'm very happy in that, and being able to find that balance. It's obviously something that's just going to continue to improve as I'm around high-level coaches and athletes.
Yeah. Actually, we love seminars. We do love seminars. Seminars is like, because obviously the gym is where you go in, you do it every day, but a seminar you learn that finer details of moves. So,
For sure.
and it's always great to pay the money, go to a seminar, and you talk about networking as well. I mean, you get to train with some of your jiu-jitsu idols. Do you know what I mean? I was fortunate; I got to train with Rodolfo Vieira, and that was my big idol. I was like, yeah, this is the guy, and being in the same room with him, on the same mats, and then getting to roll with him as well, for me was like totally invaluable. And again, some of the stuff he was showing a lot of pressure passing, which obviously for me,
Beautiful.
that's my kind of game. It's like top pressure. And he was able to break it down Rodolfo Vieira style. So yeah, absolutely loved it. So yeah, seminars. Make sure anybody if you do get the chance to go to any seminar, go because you will learn some crazy details, some really good details. So guys, there we go. Then we got Brodie Greco, absolute MMA is going to be heading to Liverpool. Well, you're in Liverpool now, yeah?
Yeah, I just me and Kaya headed up yesterday. We just landed in Liverpool, so we're just chilling. Today we're just eating a bunch of food. We're both underweight. Well, actually, I don't know about Kaya, but I'm definitely underweight for my match. So I'm just been eating pizza, steak all week. It's been great. It's been a great camp.
Yeah. so he's in Liverpool just now. I said if he's out and about, guys, give him a hello. Go up and say hello. I'd say Brodie will definitely
So
appreciate the love and support in Liverpool. So yeah, it's going to be tomorrow, the 1st of April. Now tickets, head over to Grapplefest. You will get your tickets directly through there. The pay-per-view has also been changed, no longer on Fight TV. So head over to the Grapplefest Facebook page. I know it's on my page as well. And a lot of the grapplers have reposted it. So make sure you go through the link that comes through the Grapplefest page, not Fight TV. So yeah, another amazing night. Brodie Greco, all the way from the land of Oz. You're going to see something special tomorrow night, like we did on
thank you.
Grapplefest 12. So, but listen, absolute pleasure, brother. Thank you very much again. Enjoy tomorrow night. Me and you got to catch up at one point.
Thank you.
As I said, we'll definitely
Yeah,
catch up. So you'll be on Grapplefest again, and I'll be down at that point, no doubt. So, but definitely enjoy tomorrow night, brother.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having. And yeah, hopefully next time, hopefully I'll be at a stage where I can sell some seminars in the UK and Scotland. Like I'm
Yes.
always keen to come up. So I'm just gonna keep grinding it out. Like I said, I'm gonna win trials at 77 kilos, and I'm gonna win worlds, and then we can sell out. We can sell out seminars.
Yes, definitely. Well, listen, if you're ever over, come to Scotland. As I say, we can sort you out in Scotland. Not a problem at all, Brodie.
For sure. For sure.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having
again,
me,
brother.
buddy.
Have a
I
good
appreciate
day.
it.
Take care. Bye bye.